What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Get a Grip Sports, and today we are going to be breaking down my top 32 quarterback rankings for fantasy football. Let's hop right into it. Starting it off at number 1, we have Josh Allen. Josh Allen has so many options around him. Stephon Diggs, fantastic receiver. Gabriel Davis could become a potential star. Dawson Knox is a very talented tight end, and Josh Allen pretty much can do it all. He can do it on the ground. He can do it through the air. He's got a cannon for an arm. Very accurate. He's not going to give up too many interceptions. And he's just the best pick at quarterback. Going in at number 2, we have Justin Herbert. Now, Justin Herbert, I have him a little higher than most people do, just because I think he's just going to continually get better. And if he's still getting better, he is going to be phenomenal this season. He had a great season last year. He maintains all his favorite receivers, including Keenan Allen, Jared Cook, and Mike Williams. And the running game with Austin Eckler will be good. He's a very good receiving back as well, so he is another option. And Justin Herbert's just a very good quarterback. Coming in at number 3, we have Tom Brady. We thought he was going to retire, then he didn't. Or I guess he did, and then he didn't. And he's got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. He loses Antonio Brown, who was not his favorite target, but definitely up there. He loses Rob Gronkowski, who's definitely one of his favorite targets. And he loses a lot of his favorite targets, but he still will be great with just Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He may do with Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola for, 5 years? Won a couple Super Bowls with them, so I think he'll be fine without Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski. Coming in at number 4, we have Patrick Mahomes. Now, before the Tyreek Hill trade, Mahomes was number 2. He's going to fall back a bit because losing Tyreek, and that's mainly because Tyreek was a yak master. He could give him a 8-yard pass, and he'd turn it into a 44-yard touchdown. Like, Tyreek Hill is absolutely insane, and is great for fantasy football. And that made Patrick Mahomes great for fantasy football. I think he'll still be able to throw the same amount of passes and complete the same amount of passes. Not a lot of interceptions thrown. That's just who he is. And Travis Kelce's going to get a lot more targets. Coming in at number 5, we have Lamar Jackson from the Baltimore Ravens. And he'd be lower on this list if he didn't have his ability to run. He's fantastic on the ground. He gets lots of fantasy points because of it. Not to mention he's a phenomenal passing quarterback as well. Number 6 on this list is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, as you all know, stayed in Green Bay this offseason and is looking like he'll have another great season. He loses the best receiver in the league in Devontae Adams. Now Allen Lazard's going to have to step up. Robert Tonyan's going to get a lot more catches. And rookie Christian Watson's going to be very deadly in that passing game. Of course, you can't replace Devontae Adams. He's irreplaceable. But Christian Watson is pretty dang close. He's a very good speedster. And he's got great hands, and I think Aaron Rodgers will still have a very, very good season. Number 7, we have Super Bowl champion Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. We're not sure if he's getting Odell Beckham Jr. back yet. I imagine he will. He loses Robert Woods, still has Tyler Higbee, Cooper Kupp, and he's the most accurate quarterback in the league. He protects the ball very well. Does not throw a lot of turnovers. And, he's not going to lose you fantasy points. Number 8, Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. Last year, he had 2 receivers go for over 1,000 yards, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I imagine they both will go for over 1,000 again. The tight end situation is a little iffy. They did sign a new one. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he should help in the passing game. And Jamar Chase, if he continues to be great, then Joe Burrow continues to be great, and I think that will happen again. Coming in at number 9, the new Denver Bronco, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson went from 2 great receivers to another 2 great receivers. Jerry Jeudy, who, yes, he will play the season. He is not under arrest anymore. Courtland Sutton, who, if he stays healthy, is a top 10 receiver in the league, and if he gets targets, of course. And not to mention, Russell Wilson is an absolute menace on the ground. The Broncos picked up a great quarterback here, and he is a very good starting quarterback option for a 12-person league. Rounding out the top 10, we have the Arizona Cardinal, Kyler Murray. There have been a couple rumors that he might get traded, but I don't think the Cardinals can let go of Kyler Murray. He will be without DeAndre Hopkins for the first 8 weeks of the season because of suspension. That's definitely going to hurt his fantasy outlook. He still has Rondale Moore, the newly acquired Marquise Brown, so he should still be able to keep up his numbers. He might have to run a lot more, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I think Kyler Murray will take a bit of a step back without D-Hop, but he'll still be in the elite level of quarterbacks. At number 11, just outside of the top 10, we have Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Prescott may be a top 10 quarterback in the league, but fantasy-wise, without Amari Cooper, he is not. Dalton Schultz has proven himself to be a very solid tight end, especially in the passing game. Not a great blocker. He still has CeeDee Lamb as one of the best young receivers in the game. And Dak Prescott kind of is in a prover year. He's got that huge extension. The next draft class is pretty dang good. And so if they ship away Dak Prescott, they may be able to get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think the Cowboys are definitely keeping that as an option. Derek Carr coming in at number 12. He was definitely lower on this list, but he got the best receiver in the game in Devontae Adams, not to mention keeping Darren Waller. Foster Moreau's pretty good. Hunter Renfro's a very underrated receiver who's very good in the passing game. And Derek Carr, I mean, he's a solid quarterback. He doesn't turn over the ball. He scores quite a bit, but he's not very effective on the ground. And if he's having a bad day, he is having a horrible day. So watch out. If you can avoid him being your starter, I would definitely recommend it. Coming in at number 13, we have Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings. He's got one of the best wide receiver duos in the league with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is an electric playmaker, and if Kirk Cousins feeds him the ball, that means more fantasy points for him and more points in the real world for him. Kirk Cousins, he's got a ridiculously strong arm. He's not very consistent. He will turn over the ball a lot. So if you are in a league that if he throws an interception, you lose like 6 to 10 points, I would recommend not getting him and go for a much safer quarterback like maybe Carson Wintz or Jalen Hurts, who's a little lower down in this list, just to prevent losing points like that. Coming in at number 14, we have Deshawn Watson. He used to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He took a year off, and I'm not exactly sure how he will perform. He doesn't have a great receiving core. He has Amari Cooper, who's one of the best receivers in the game, who fell off a little bit last season. Very inconsistent, so we'll see how he does in the new system with the Browns. And he also gets Donovan Peoples-Jones. That is his second option, so it's not looking great, but Deshaun Watson, if he puts on a Superman cape, he can have a fantastic season. Coming in at number 15, we have Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami Dolphins. I honestly don't think he's a top 20 quarterback in the league, but he is Tyreek Hill, and as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Patrick Mahomes, he is a yak monster. So if he throws the short to mid passes to Tyreek, he runs for a lot more. It's more fantasy points for Tua, and it looks good. So Tua is a bit of a risky business, but if you have both Tua and Tyreek on your team, I would definitely pull the trigger. Coming in at number 16, we have Carson Wentz of the Washington Commanders. Carson Wentz has played for 3 different teams in the past 3 years, including this year. And if he does not produce for the Commanders, I don't know what to say. He might turn into a career backup, which is not what I want for him. He seems like a cool guy. He had a really good fantasy year back when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, he got injured at the end of that season, so he wasn't able to participate. But Carson Wentz, I mean, he's got scary Terry McLaurin as a wide receiver. Logan Thomas, who's a very underrated tight end. If you can pick him up late, maybe even as a backup or a flex option, I would definitely recommend doing that. But Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin, 2 very good receivers. Most quarterbacks don't get that good of a duo. And if he cannot produce with them, he is just not meant to be an NFL quarterback. I think he'll have a decent season in fantasy, good enough to remain a starter, but not good enough to make the playoffs. Coming in at number 17, speaking of prove-it quarterbacks, we have Jalen Hurst of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That's way better than Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. Like, We have A.J. Brown, who is a proven phenomenal receiver, and Devontae Smith, who had an outstanding rookie season. And Jalen Hurts is also very good on the ground, and if he cannot produce in the ground or the air, he has to go. The Eagles may need to find a new quarterback in the draft next season. So the ceiling for Jalen Hurts this season is extremely high, 4,800 yards, around 35 touchdowns and like 10 interceptions. But the floor is also very low, only 20 touchdowns, 3,500 yards, 20 interceptions. So he's a boomer bust player this year. I don't really see any in between for Jalen Hurts, and it's worth taking a risk on, I would say. Coming out number 18, we have Jameis Winston of the New Orleans Saints, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, and Michael Thomas, not to mention Alvin Kamara in the running back position. Jameis Winston, I mean, if he can produce with this type of an offense, then he's got to be a career backup after this. Like just like Jalen Hurts, the ceiling is very high. I don't think the floor is just as low, although I think he may have an average season. I think he'd be a good backup option for your fantasy team. I would not count on him to be your starter. Number 19, we have second-year quarterback Mack Jones of the New England Patriots. I mean, runner-up for Rookie of the Year, the best quarterback so far to come out of that 2021 draft class. He doesn't have the best receivers around him, but he produced last year, and that is a key element of success for this 2022 season. Produce. Survive and advance is what the Patriots are known to do, and if he can get them to the playoffs, I think they may be able to make a run. Fantasy-wise, I don't think he's the best option. He takes care of the ball, but he doesn't have many huge yardage games. He may have a huge bounce in his second year and become one of the best quarterbacks in the league, or he might just stay the regular Mac Jones, 6-yard check down Mac Jones. Rounding out the top 20, we have another second-year quarterback, Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he looked like the best prospect last year. He turned out not even be the best player in his position. He doesn't have the best team around him. Not a great offensive line. Not a good receiving core. But if he has that much talent, he should be able to carry the team on his back, and that's what I expect from him in his second year. I think you probably would be able to start him at quarterback in fantasy. Maybe send him for a couple games, like against the Titans or the Colts. But other than that, he looks like he's going to have a very good second season fantasy-wise. Just outside of the top 20, we have Lions quarterback Jared Goff. He's got a nice, shiny new weapon in Jameson Williams, so I think will end up being the best receiver in this draft class. Amon-Ra St. Brown emerged late last season and looks like if he continues to improve, he could be a phenomenal receiver in the National Football League. Jared Goff, I mean, he is a solid quarterback. He is above average, and fantasy-wise, he is definitely above average, and I think he is going to have a season similar to his second season, and the Lions may be a team to watch out for, especially if Aiden Hutchinson is as good as advertised. Number 22, we have Matt Ryan of the Indianapolis Colts. Listen, when Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce are your two best receivers, you're not in the best position. Matt Ryan used to be good. He is average now, maybe a little below average. And I just don't see him producing fantasy-wise. Coming in at number 23, we have Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans. I mean, quarterback ranking-wise, he is way farther up on this list. But because of the Titans also drafting Malik Willis, I do not think Ryan Tannehill will play the entire season. And, I mean, you can get him as a backup and play him when he plays and bench him when he's not. But I definitely would not draft Ryan Tannehill as your starter. Number 24, Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers. Now, Sam Darnold just isn't a good quarterback. Just straight out, he does not belong in the NFL, and definitely not an NFL starter. The Panthers, I mean, DJ Moore is their best option. Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, if he stays healthy, is probably their best option. Do not draft Sam Darnold in your fantasy league. Number 25, we have Zach Wilson of the New York Jets. Elijah Moore looked pretty good at the end of the last season. Zach Wilson, he's got a cannon for an arm. Extremely accurate. He's very good at reading the field. I have problems drafting anybody from the Jets in my fantasy league, except for maybe Michael Carter in the running back position as a flex or a bench player. And Elijah Moore, as I already mentioned, is very good. But Zach Wilson, he isn't as good as he was in college, and I do not think he's a very good fantasy quarterback. Another player who is in the prove-it position is Daniel Jones. The Giants already declined his fifth-year option. That just shows they do not have much faith in him. Fantasy-wise, do not pick him in your fantasy league. The rest of these players on this list, you definitely should not pick in your draft. And if you do, you better be in a 14-plus person league because you got to be very desperate to pick any of these players. Daniel Jones, Kadarius Toney is probably his best option at receiver, and they're trying to trade him away. So, I don't know. Kadarius Toney is not a very good receiver. Coming in at number 27, we have Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. Not a good receiving core. Solid quarterback. He can make things happen on the ground, but as I already said, don't take any of these players in your fantasy draft unless you're a diehard fan of their team. Number 28, we have Drew Lock of the Seattle Seahawks. We don't even know if Drew Lock's going to start. Geno Smith may be the starter for the Seattle Seahawks. Who knows? Drew Lock is not a very good quarterback. Geno Smith may be the better option. At number 29, we have Davis Mills of the Houston Texans, who is a solid quarterback, and I could absolutely see him making a huge jump in his second year. However, I also think that is very, very, very extremely unlikely, and Brandon Cooks is his best receiver, so he doesn't have many options. Coming in at number 30, we have Marcus Mariota of the Atlanta Falcons. Mariota does not deserve to be a starting quarterback, nor has he ever. His best receiver is out for the entire season because he had a gambling addiction, and the Falcons are kind of screwed this season. Coming in at number 31, we have Trey Lance of the San Francisco 49ers. Honestly, I should call this Trey Lance / Jimmy G because we are not sure which one of them is going to be starting. I imagine Trey Lance will play the majority of the season because he is the younger player and the better option. But I didn't like Trey Lance coming out of college. I think he was going to be a bust, and this season will kind of let me know if I'm right or not about that. Number 32, we have Kenny Pickett / Mitchell Trubisky of my Pittsburgh Steelers. I would love to take Kenny Pickett, but that is because I'm a Steelers fan, and I believe and hope for the best in him. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a while since I last posted, but school is finally over, and I'll have a lot more time over the summer to post, so you'll be seeing and hearing a lot more from me. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe down below. Comment down any suggestions you have for any videos or any videos you'd like me to see, and I'll see you guys next time.